The Archipelagic and Island States, or AIS Forum, are committed to take part in a collective forum addressing sustainable development issues. The cooperation between AIS countries focuses on 4 thematic areas of collaboration, namely climate change mitigation and adaptation, blue economy, marine plastics debris, and good maritime governance. The Archipelagic and Island States Forum was established by Manando Joint Declaration.
We are different in many ways, but we share the same challenges.
The biggest problem I see is the climate change. There's something you could do. From today on, stop using single-use plastic. It's the very highest contributor for pollution in the sea.
The world is starting to wake up that we have long known, that without our precious environment, none of us have a future.
Ladies and gentlemen, my warm greetings and appreciation for your participation on the 5th Senior Official Meeting of the AIS Forum. It has been 2 years since Manado Joint Declaration that marked the establishment of the AIS Forum. What we discuss and agree today will continue to guide the shape and trajectory of our collaboration.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is imperative that our crisis response over COVID-19 is resolutely managed beyond business as usual and in a manner that propels the transition to a sustainable ocean economy that preserves ocean ecosystems will play a major role in climate change mitigation and adaptation.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Government of Indonesia, allow me to welcome all of you and express my gratitude for your participation. The downturn hurt more than 200,000 employees. Thousands of hotels were closed. We are trying hard to innovate and adjust our strategy to navigate this crisis. This pandemic also gives us a chance to shape the recovery, a chance to do better in building the future state of our global relationship.
Mandated in the final outcome of the second ministerial meeting of AIS Forum in 2019, the AIS Blue Startup Hub was established to create a perfect environment for startups to expand their network, engage with local stakeholders, and create innovative ideas and solutions. AIS Blue Startup Hub aims to connect startups with relevant stakeholders, incubators, and venture capitalists in AIS participating countries, provide learning platforms for startups, and allow business owners to support one another through collaborative partnerships. The AIS Blue Startup Hub comprises of 3 fundamental activities: AIS Blue Startup Hub website, AIS Blue Startup Hub innovative solutions with supporting activities such as 2020 AIS Innovation Challenge, AIS Blue Startup Hub knowledge sharing session, and AIS Blue Startup Hub mentoring program. The AIS Blue Startup Hub website is a platform where startups, incubators, accelerators, mentors, and government from the AIS participating countries can use to get connected to each other. Right now, around 35 startups from 9 AIS participating countries have joined the AIS Blue Startup Hub community. In 2020, AIS Innovation Challenge was held to find innovative ideas and breakthroughs that can help societies and businesses to be more resilient and adaptive during crisis situations. The selected winners of the 2020 AIS Innovation Challenge were invited to join the AIS Blue Startup Hub mentoring program. The top 2 winners of the challenge are CoinPack from Indonesia and Bula Lance from Fiji. CoinPack offers high-quality reusable packaging solutions designed to replace single-use sachets in a sustainable way. Lightweight packaging consists of refillable PET bottles, meaning they require minimal use of raw materials, have a long lifespan, and are easy to transport and clean. CoinPack repacks home and personal care products produced by FMCGs. Its reusable bottles and distributes them to warung stores and waste bank communities. With each buy, the customer makes a small deposit and receives an incentive when they return the empty bottle.
The 2020 AIS Innovation Challenge is an extraordinary business competition that generates innovative ideas and breakthroughs that help society and business sector to be more resilient and adaptive during these crisis situations. I'm so glad to join the incubation program where my team can deep dive into real challenges in today's market, identify and solve the challenge that we are facing. We also gain knowledge, ideas and other advantages from experienced startup founders, investors and public sector actors to accelerate our business growth. Thank you.
Bula Lance is a freelancing platform for SMEs to access personal and professional services, showcasing local Fijian talents and expertise, and not forgetting the Bula customer service. Bula Lance provides customers with various services: access to high-quality professionals on an easily accessible online platform on demand, contract and payment management system, conflict resolution center, online and offline payment options, verification freelancers, and personal services. The platform will also have a capacity building section specifically designed for freelancers, so they can gain expertise and become certified in their field, or they can diversify into other areas.
I went on the AIS Blue Hub platform just recently, and I discovered so many resources and so much opportunities that is available to young entrepreneurs like me and startups who are just wanting to grow and scale their businesses, access mentors, access networking opportunities, and also the ability to just learn and grow into the international market.
In September 2020, AIS Blue Startup Hub launched its mentoring program, which is an 8-session mentoring program aimed to find a pilot project that can give a solution for the problem faced in the AIS participating countries. The mentoring program is attended by 18 startups from 6 countries, which are Fiji, Indonesia, Mauritius, Sri Lanka, Philippines, and Madagascar.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, of course, depending on which side of the world you are. Welcome to the first staging of the Archipelagic and Island States AIS Forum's Youth Talk Show. My name is Aishiba Cornwall, and they call me the Energy Queen, and I'll be your host for today. Now, I am a social advocate for youth empowerment, lover of media and communication, and a second-year integrated marketing communication student at the UE, Mona. And my mission in life really is to use digital technologies like social media to empower youth. And that's what we'll be doing here today. We'll definitely be having a really good conversation. And before I go on, actually, if there is anyone here from the differently abled community, I welcome you. Right now, you're listening to the voice of a dark-skinned Jamaican. I'm wearing a gray and white striped dress shirt with a black bottom and brown slippers just to top it off. My natural hair is caught up in a puff, and I'm wearing light pink and black glasses that perfectly covers my crossed eyes. And I'm extremely excited to be your host for this youth talk show today. If you're just joining us, welcome to all those in Zoomland and on YouTube. The AIS Forum is a platform that was initiated to bring together 47 archipelagic and island states, regardless of size and location, to cooperate on common issues faced by island nations. Now, these countries agreed to cooperate on climate change mitigation and adaptation, the blue economy, marine plastic debris, and good maritime governance. Now, before we get into the exciting conversation, because guess what? We have amazing young people that are going to be talking today, and the conversation is going to be very interesting. And to all the young people who are here, who are listening and hearing my voice, I really hope you brought your notebook and you bring a pen, because people, I have mine, have my notebook right here, and I have my pen, because you are about to be schooled and you don't want to miss the conversation. Now, for me to set the scene for you a little, we need to understand a few things before we get into the conversation. Now, today's discussion is dedicated to you, youth, and natural disaster resilience. Before I introduce our distinguished speakers, of course, let me set the scene for you. So our discussion is taking place in the Caribbean. Yes, a region that is really well known for its natural beauty, nice beaches, warm sun, and of course, the friendly people. The region is, however, very highly vulnerable to natural disasters. Now, according to IMF research, and this is just a little background information before we get into the conversation, in 2018, of the 511 disasters worldwide to hit small states since 1950, around 2/3, that's about 324, have been in the Caribbean. And I'm going to say that again. Around 2/3 of that number have been in the Caribbean, killing 250,000 people and affecting more than 24 million through injury and loss of homes and livelihoods. Now, they found that the region is up to 7 times more likely to experience a natural disaster than larger states. And that's why we're having this conversation today, to see how we, yes, us as young people, how we can play a part in mitigating this, against this. So we're going to jump right in. So as we get into the conversation and as I introduce the speakers, we're going to learn a little more about how natural disasters are really affecting the Caribbean, and to just give you some other research information that we found through our research. Now, I'm going to invite to our virtual stage, of course, the first person, who is Devonte Peters. Now, Devonte Peters is from the island of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. He holds a bachelor's degree in geography from the University of the West Indies and is employed as a compliance officer at the National Insurance, SPG, that's St. Vincent. He pursues a hobby in photography and cinematography. In 2020, Devonte co-founded Voice Your Choice, a non-partisan group geared at educating young Vincentians on the importance of youth participation in the electoral process. During 2021 eruption of the La Soufriere volcano, Devonte and a few friends started the Just Us League, a volunteer group that provided relief to persons affected by the eruption. Devonte, of course, I'm inviting you to the virtual stage while I invite our other panelists. Gabrielle Gay. Now, Miss Gabrielle Gay is the founder of the Gabrielle Gay Award for Excellence in Reading Literacy mentorship program, the first, only, largest and most awarded literacy education program of its type in the Caribbean Americas. Honored by Queen Elizabeth II in the Queen's Young Leaders Program and by the World Literacy Foundation, it reaches over 100,000 students annually. Wow. With a critical focus on students of color from underserved and marginalized communities globally. She also founded the FemLex cohort of the FemSTEM cohort, the first fully certified legal and STEM entrepreneurship programs of their kind in the Caribbean, which connects young women from disadvantaged and marginalized communities to professional entrepreneurship business and internship opportunities. She is a final year law student, digital media influencer and strategist. She is the first ever Barbadian World Literacy Foundation ambassador. That's in 2020 to 2021. And she's also the first ever Barbadian Organization of Eastern Caribbean States Sustainable Development Ambassador, appointed for her unique contributions to education across the globe. And look here, I've been talking about Gabrielle Gay being the first. Well, guess what? She's one of the first ever Caribbean Climate Justice Project Youth Parliamentarians, passing the first and only complete climate justice resolution of its kind to come out of the Caribbean. Look here, Gabrielle Gay, I'm inviting you to the virtual stage. Lots of first right there. She's a big deal, people. She is indeed a big deal. And as I continue, I will be inviting my fellow Jamaican, actually, to the virtual stage, none other than Colleen Dawkins. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Colleen. Now, as a public relations and media practitioner, Colleen has been instrumental in the creation and execution of many Jamaican government-led public education campaigns and initiatives promoting environmental protection, such as the National Plastic Ban Awareness Campaign, climate change mitigation and adaptation initiatives. The Ministry of Science, Energy and Technology's Sustainable Energy Sensitization Program. A lot of things. Now, she played a major role on the organizing committee for the execution of the 4th Ministerial of Energy Climate Partners of the America in 2020. And she has helped with the publication of information arising from key government environmental initiatives, and has provided updates on the impact of government partnerships and events on climate change, including tracking the national tree plant in the initiative. Look here, people, I don't think you understand. We have a lot of amazing people on the panel, We have a lot of amazing, and just to close this off, Colleen she was recently awarded the Prime Minister's Youth Award for Excellence in the category of environmental protection. As I said, a very big deal, a very, very big deal indeed. Welcome to the virtual stage, Colleen. And last but definitely not least, I think he's the youngest on the panel, Yeah, man, I think he's the youngest on the panel. Mr. Raymond Russell. Now, Raymond is 18 years old, people. Only 18. Almost 5 years ago, Hurricane Maria destroyed his island, Dominica, and left a lasting impact on how he thinks of the environment and the effect of natural disasters and climate change on it. Now, through photography, he was able to document the events and look back on the storm and analyze how it has impacted him, and not only him, others, other young people, and learn from what occurred. Now, he has since become a UNICEF youth advocate for climate change, and he uses his photography to shed light on the climate crisis in small island states like Dominica. He is currently studying geography at college and hopes to go on to specialize in meteorology, strengthening his country's capacity to anticipate and prepare for storms and hurricanes in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, your esteemed panel, amazing people. Right now, before we get into the conversation, we are going to get a video testimony from Devontae.
Hi, my name is Devontae Peters, and I am from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And today, I'm going to tell you about my experience with the eruption of the Lasso Frey volcano. In late December 2020, we heard that something was happening at the Lasso Frey volcano. Turns out that the volcano had erupted, but this eruption was an effusive eruption. It was a small eruption that was contained to the crater of the volcano. We started getting updates from the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, in terms of what was happening with the eruption and up at the volcano. This goes on for a few weeks to months, this effusive eruption. Fast forward to Easter weekend 2021, and my friends and I were in the Grenadines on the island of Bequia, And I remember sitting down with one of my buddies and talking about the fact that, you know, here we are on this beautiful island, sipping some drinks, and the potential for the volcano to erupt anytime is huge. Like, we could be here and hear that the volcano has erupted. Just 3 days later, it's Thursday, 8 April 2021. Just a few hours ago, the Prime Minister issued an emergency evacuation, and all persons in the red zone were asked to evacuate with immediate effect. We have people walking. I'm not entirely sure where they're walking to, but yeah, it's crazy just seeing like people having to leave their homes, not entirely sure what is going to happen or where they're going. Now Friday, 9th April 2021, I wake up, I get dressed, and I go to work. And shortly after 8, at 8:45, I saw the first piece of footage that confirmed that the volcano had in fact erupted explosively. It's complete shock. Complete shock. I went on social media and I just asked my followers, if you are interested in volunteering in whatever capacity, send me a message, let me know. We are trying to see how many persons we can get together to lend a helping hand. Shortly after that, a few persons reached out to me and said, hey, what are you doing? I said, honestly, I don't have a solid plan, but here's what I think we can do. We started going around to the evacuation shelters and started documenting what were their needs. We tried to get information on the demographics of the shelter. We then use our social media platforms to let persons know that, hey, shelter A, they're in need of X, Y, and Z. If you're in a close by area and you have these, and you can donate them, you can go here. If not, you can give us a shout and we can try to come and pick it up and drop it off there. And this was Friday, the day the volcano erupted. And we did this from like an hour after the volcano erupted all the way up to about 9:30 p.m. when ashes first started falling in Kingstown, the capital. We're heading to the Caliacor Anglican school. We're gonna drop off some water behind there. Again, every little bit counts. So I bring some water, you bring some water, we all bring some water. People will have water. Let's do it. I remember waking up on April 10th and I took my time and went up to the window curtains and pulled them apart. And when I looked outside, it was all grey. Everything was covered in ash, and I'm not just talking about a thin layer, it's a thick blanket of ash. No green trees, there's no running water, there's no paved surfaces, it's just ash. After the initial shock, we immediately snapped back into relief mode. At this point, the group that we started the day before had grown significantly. That first day, I remember we sort of met to put a plan together. We established a shopping team and a team to do packing and distribution. And we met that day in a ashy parking lot in Kingstown. And we looked at the shelters that we were trying to assist on that particular day, packed the boxes for them and sent those out. Yeah, we continued doing this until 2 months after the eruption. Of course, over time, our scale of operation slowly came down. We expanded from just assisting shelters to helping persons who were housing people in their homes. In some instances, there were houses that had over 40 persons. So we also tried our best to provide assistance. We couldn't have done any of it without the kind donations from persons around the globe, from the support that local business houses provided, not just in terms of like giving us a space to operate, but we had hardware stores that would open up just so we can come and purchase supplies to make donations. We had persons who had trucks that reached out and were like, if you guys need assistance with what you're doing, just give us a call. We'd be more than happy to help in whatever way we can. At one point, our group had over 75 members, and over 90% of them were between the ages of 17 to 35. It was absolutely incredible to see the selflessness of the young people who were part of our group. And not just the Justice League, but the other organizations and groups that had popped up around the island to assist during this time. It was a massive, massive outpour of support, and it was incredible to see the amount of young persons involved in this. In the wake of the eruption, there was a lot of damage and destruction, especially within the red and orange zones. Agriculture had been virtually destroyed across the island, and a lot of homes in areas such as Oya and Sandy Bay that are very close to the volcano were destroyed. As a result, persons had to stay in the emergency shelters for an extended period of time, which resulted in school being delayed even further, having already been delayed earlier by the COVID-19 pandemic. We definitely learned a lot. We learned that you have to be your brother's keeper, and you have to look out for your fellow countrymen and women during these difficult times. Natural disasters not nice. Yeah. They may not like it.
Wow. Okay. Me not like it neither, sir. Honestly, Devonte, before we get into the discussion, I must say, wonderful video, but what I got from the video was really so powerful. It showed me the power of youth. It showed me the power of community, showed me the power of coming together and actually helping. And that's what the conversation is kind of, gonna be about today, because the truth is, isn't it better to stop something from happening before it actually happens? All right, cool. Not saying anything, let's get into the conversation. So today, the topic one for today, we're going to be focusing on youth experiences with natural disasters in the Caribbean. And if you're listening and you're hearing, you would have heard Devonte's story and what happened in his country. I want to ask this very important question. Now, based on the IMF research in 2018, they did say that our region is up to 7 times more likely to experience a natural disaster, right? So I want to know from our panelists, what are the main natural disasters that pose a threat to your island? Because everybody here is from a different island. And how do these natural disasters affect youth in the Caribbean in general, right? So what are the main natural disasters that pose a threat to your island, and how do these natural disasters affect youth in the Caribbean in general? Russell, I feel like I was going to call on you first. I'm going to ask you to just take the reins on this one first. Go ahead.
Well, living in the Commonwealth of Dominica, the main natural disaster that that threatens us is hurricanes. Famously in 2017, there was Hurricane Maria, which struck us and dealt a significant blow to our island. Around that same time, there was also Hurricane Irma, which went up and damaged, what's the island? Shoot. But Hurricane Irma also passed up and damaged many other islands as well. Hurricanes pose a significant threat to the Caribbean as they occur on essentially a yearly basis, with the hurricane season happening from June to November each year. We are constantly trying to prepare each year from January to around April, May, to make sure that we are fully prepared that if in case a hurricane does pass, we are ready to deal with it.
Thank you so much for that, Russell. Gabriel, I'm going to jump over to you. How about you in Barbados? What are some of the natural disasters that you see there in Barbados, and how does this affect youth overall in your country?
Thank you so much, Aishiba. Good night, everyone. Good night, world. Good morning, also, and good afternoon, wherever you are. So yeah, for us, it's also hurricanes as well. And then we also have what we like to term a silent killer underwater. We have an underwater volcano called Kikam Jenny. Very, facetiously named, but it's not funny at all because we do not want that kick from Jenny at all. She has definitely shown signs of activity over the past couple of years, and with Barbados already being incredibly, low lying in terms of flat surface of land, having that underwater volcano erupt would be absolutely catastrophic for our island. And, even because at our lowest point, we're actually literally on the same level as the Atlantic Ocean floor. We are that flat. So imagine, an underwater volcano eruption with the tsunami as a 2-for-1 combination that we do not need. And definitely the hurricanes as well. We had Hurricane Tomas, and definitely really just disrupted Barbados. So much infrastructure, education especially was disrupted as well, with when children, they don't have a home, they are also displaced out of schools. So these are some of the things that we struggle with regards to natural disasters, because there is a myth, because we are one of the most easterly located islands, that we are technically unscathed in a lot of instances. But the thing about Barbados is that when something hits, it definitely does it big. So yeah, our hurricanes have definitely, and storms have definitely caused a lot of devastation, and also flooding, because we are so low-lying, have such flat land. Even, let's say, I would say even just a half a day of torrential downpour causes a lot of our parishes, particularly in the north and some in the south, to completely flood out and have the houses completely flood out. So just imagine a sustained hurricane, right? How that would completely devastate us in terms of education and infrastructure. So those are some of the things that affect us, and that are some of the ways and that we are affected, and some of the things that we are looking out for and hoping, especially with regards to the underwater volcano, that they do not occur.
Thank you for that, Gabriel. I'm actually going to ask the same question to Colleen, and it's important to understand, because guess what? All of us, we're located within the Caribbean region, and in order for us to solve any problem at all, we need to understand what the problem is. And this is why I'm asking everybody individually, what are the problems? And it's interesting too, because you realize that, what did Gabriel say? Russell had said hurricane, but then Gabriel came again and said, hurricane over here too. So what does that look like to you? It's you realize that there are similarities when you hear everybody talking. But Colleen, gonna jump over to you in Jamaica. Same question. What are some of the natural disasters, and how do these affect young people?
Okay, firstly, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome, and thanks for joining us. And thank you for that question, Aishiba. All right, so in Jamaica, we are threatened by hurricanes, flooding, and to a lesser extent, earthquakes. Now, the hurricanes, they bring about flooding, also the storms. We have drainage problems, or drainage system could do with a revamp. It's kind of an older system, and also pollution helps to, worsen that as well. And this affects our youth, because when there's a flooding, they can't get to school, and they might not be able to get to supplies that they would need, say food, as well. Their parents' livelihoods are threatened because mommy and daddy can't get to work, so there's no lunch money or money to buy groceries or pay the utilities as well, depending on how severe the flooding is or the storm or hurricane would have hit. Also, farming. Farmers, they're threatened, so agriculture or export, that is being threatened as well. Similarly, we have youth employed in that sector, believe it or not. So their livelihood, as well as their parents' or grandparents' livelihood, that's threatened. With earthquakes, we haven't had a major earthquake in a while. We've only had two really big ones in our history, one in 1692 and one in 1907. But I don't mean that it's impossible. The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Response, they actually said that, yes, we're due one, so we need to look out. And we saw, what happened to Haiti. We actually share we straddle the tectonic plate, the Grenadines tectonic plate and the Caribbean tectonic plate. We straddle that. So we definitely can be hit by an earthquake. In the event that we're hit by an earthquake, or infrastructure is then put to the test. So we're going to have the housing being threatened as well. Similar with a flood or a hurricane, it's just that this time the structure is going to crumble. With flooding, you maybe can have the foundation to build back on. With an earthquake, you don't have that. So now you're looking at that threatening education, financial resources, and their place of safety, which would be the home. So those are issues we really need to look at, and they're definitely a threat.
I definitely agree, Colleen. Trust me, I have seen the drainage system here in Jamaica. It is not cute. We're gonna talk about it in about one of the issues too is that I feel like as people we keep, the government needs to do this. Sis, how about you not throw the garbage on the ground though? You get me? But let's move on. Gabriel, I really want to ask you specifically a follow-up question because of the work that you do, especially with young women. I think this question would be very interesting, and I'd love to get your response from this one. So you talk about the fact that education will be disrupted, infrastructure and all of these things for your country, but how can these natural disasters affect young women differently from it would possibly affect young men and youth living with disabilities, youth living in rural areas versus the urban areas, and youth in vulnerable communities?
Thank you so much for that question, Aishiba. The impacts are nothing short of disastrous. So starting with young women, the thing about it, I always tell people when we have negative events in history, even if it's something like war, internal conflict, women tend to suffer more in some respects because, for example, even simple things like the female reproductive system and the need for supplies in this regard within that monthly session that all young women face, these are things that are severely impacted because when we have the situations where they're displaced from their homes, they're in shelters, their basic human dignity is stripped, right? Because they don't have the resources. And then these types of resources are technically very hard to source, particularly around these type of times with natural disasters. So it's a case of even on that level, the basic human dignity is stripped away. Then we have the situation where young women, particularly from rural communities, as you said, and inner city communities as well, are also severely disadvantaged because they already start at a place where they're at the lower socioeconomic level. Most of them have more than one children. So they have multiple children already. And then with a natural disaster, they're forced then to be in a situation where they can't only provide for themselves, they also can't even take care of their own reproductive issues and their necessities that are needed. Then they have hungry children, and then there's a case where a lot of the households have absentee fathers, so there's no support. And then a lot of what I like to call a very ugly and hidden truth that happens in these types of natural disaster situations is that young women are exploited. Yes, we don't talk about it a lot, but young women are exploited in exchange for these basic necessities to survive while in shelters and while in situations, they are put in situations where they're sexually harassed and different things like that, because there are a lot of situations where persons offering help are not genuine. Thankfully, we have people like Devontae and others who are genuine and working towards, and here in Barbados as well, our organization, the Erling Bradshaw Foundation, of course, government agencies and other NGOs as well, working towards. But then when you have individuals in deep rural areas and inner cities who, it takes time to get that aid to them, sometimes and many times, more often not, and more often than is reported, they essentially come into contact with individuals who are seeking to exploit them, knowing that a mother who is desperate will do whatever she has to do to feed her children in these type of circumstances. Then we also have situations with Barbados has a large elderly population. We actually have, per square mile, one of the largest elderly populations in the entire world. So what happens then when we have natural disasters and we have a lot of, older individuals in senescence who live alone, or, they're hard also to access as well because a lot of them don't have cell phones. They can't call out. There's no social media to keep track of them. So it is really a case of hoping that you find them alive to get them the aid that they need. Similarly with disabled children as well, and children with challenges in this regard, particularly in the same inner city and rural communities, also suffer even more challenges because when they're in shelters, for example, let's take autistic children, for example. There's already so much going on with regards to, it's such a extra sensory overload. So they're already frazzled in that regard. And then on top of that, they can't get the medication, they can't get the care, the specialized care that they need. So when it comes to young women, it comes to children with challenges and learning, challenges and lack of ability in that regard, as well as the elderly. These are the areas that Barbados suffers most when it comes to a natural disaster happening, which is why, I'm happy to have this conversation on preventative measures because these are the vulnerable populations that suffer the most in Barbados.
Thanks for that, Gabrielle. A lot came out in what you said. I think what got me thinking was the fact that I don't know if if the listeners, the attendees and the panelists realize, but a lot of this climate change issue that we're having, it stems outward as well. Like you have education being affected, you have the whole issue with young women and just people from vulnerable communities. It causes so much other problems, and I find that very interesting, actually. Now I saw Gwen put in the chat that she had a panic when they were hit by a typhoon earlier this year. And it leads me to ask the next question, actually, as we get into the whole, how can we solve this issue, actually? Have you guys ever actually experienced a natural disaster? I know that Russell kind of did. I'm gonna jump over back to Russell, because I want to hear this story. How was it for you? Were there any lessons learned from that? And trust me, I learned a lot from Devante's video. Let me just put that out there. So I definitely got Devante's perspective on that. But Russell, how about you?
Oh, for sure. Hurricane Maria was a very, very big shock, and to me and everyone I know. Luckily, we knew that it was coming around about 48 hours before. We could tell it was heading straight for the island. So thankfully, I had prepared in advance for that, and I headed to a local fire station, which my mother works at, and we were taking shelter there. But it was definitely a really, really, really intense experience. And not only did I get affected with my home, but the entire island. People lost their roofs, there's flooding, tons and tons of materials and items got lost and flown out into the wind. And it really brings to mind that preparedness is very, very important. If you know that something of such magnitude is coming towards you, you're going to know that, okay, I need to get supplies, I need to get flashlights, I need to get some spare food in order to be able to survive after, because relief took quite a long time to get to us for a long time after the storm. So that's a significant point. Yeah, that's essentially it. But that's left a very, very impactful, a very deep impact on me and everyone I know around me.
All right, thank you so much for that, Russell. And Colleen, I want to jump over to you and to ask you another question, same line of questioning, however. But for you, I know you would have talked about the two biggest natural disasters that happened in Jamaica, but for you, do you remember any, like you experienced any? But for you, I want you to answer this one. And if you did, has the experience overall made you more resilient? And if it did, how?
Okay, so yes, my very first natural disaster in Jamaica that I can recall was in 2004, Hurricane Ivan. Now, as a little girl, you hear everybody talking about hurricane. I remember Gilbert, which hit in 1988. So you hear your parents and grandparents talking about storm and how this happened. So you're actually anticipating this, a little bit excited because you're ignorant, you're naive, you don't know what this thing really means. So you're looking forward to it. And I will never forget that. As young as I was, I remember that preparedness is important, and planning right across the board, planning from government to municipal corporations to you citizens, the individual. Planning is very important because a lot of persons, they didn't heed the warnings. They thought, oh, the storm is going to turn back. Oh, the storm is going to dissipate. No, you have to be aware, because getting old and learning more, and delving into environmental protection and natural disaster and disaster management and resilience, I realized that this was during the hurricane season. So persons should have been on the alert, so it shouldn't be that you wait until the weather report says, oh, we're going to be hit. Then you start stocking up on the necessities. And I found that a lot of persons did that during Hurricane Ivan. So planning has to be in place. You can't wait until the storm is going to come, then you want to do mass drain cleaning, and you don't have to wait on the government to do that. I believe that as citizens, we have a responsibility and a right. All of us live in this environment. We don't just live in silos or in a bubble. So what somebody does affects the person down the road. So I feel like if we have a collective effort to keeping the environment clean, especially the drains and the thoroughfares, then that would help. Because I realized it was last minute. I remember it being last minute. You saw the trucks coming and they're trying to clean out the gullies so the waters could come, but it was a little too late because the amount of work that was required couldn't have been done based on when the rains started. Once the rain started, the storm isn't here yet, but the outer bands and stuff, once it starts, there's not much that can be done. So I feel like preparedness and planning definitely important if we're supposed to be resilient when it comes to facing natural disasters, because they will come. They do come. We can't stop them. It's just a matter of how we face them. So that's what that experience taught me.
Thank you so much for that, Colleen. Look here, people, my eyes are getting watery. I don't know if it's because of what Colleen told me a while ago, but let me just dry them right there as we continue our conversation. It's very interesting that you said that. I feel like as a people, and I say people, I'm talking about Caribbean people, we're very hard of hearing. Though our international friends might not understand what that is, but we don't listen. And as Colleen says, we usually do things at last minute, and that is one of the biggest problems. And we need to work on that. So if we have any young people here from the Caribbean, that is one thing that we need to work on. But I think it's interesting too, because we have youth over here and we have the older generation over this side, and the older generation don't like listen to, especially when it's a young person that is speaking and telling them, da, 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 da. They have a problem with that. So what I want to know from you now, Gabriel, I'm gonna run right over to you. Because you are in the spaces with these individuals, you are one of these individuals. How are young people across the Caribbean helping to improve the resilience that we're here talking about of our islands? So what has your experience been really taking action as a young person through your activism and youth leadership and so on?
Thank you so much for that. And you're absolutely correct. For us to, obviously we get further together. So for us to, generate the necessary solutions, we have to amalgamate between generations, because of course, the more mature generation, they're the stakeholders. They're the stakeholders, the major power players, and then a lot of the innovation and the fresh ideas come from the youth. And actually, before I get into, actually what we're doing in terms of solution-oriented, initiatives and whatnot, I actually want to add some context with regards to education and climate change. Because here's the thing, people understand education as a solution to climate change. Like, I think that's a general knowledge based concept. It's like, yeah, we need to learn more about it, but I don't think people generally actually understand the intricate linkages between, as they would see it, the sun, some snow, a volcano. What does that have to do with my books? Like, what does that have to do with me? So if you will permit me, let me just share my screen very quickly. And I'm going to just discuss that very quickly. You guys can let me know if you are seeing my screen.
Yeah, so we're seeing your screen.
Okay, fantastic. Let me bring that into, go back. Great. Is it full screen for everyone?
Yes, it is now.
Okay, great. So as I like to call it, education and climate change, 3 critical linkages of a uniquely volatile relationship, because come on guys, this is not healthy. This is very toxic. So the first thing is excessive rainfall. So, when the rain falls a lot, as we are very, privy to in the Archipelagic and the Caribbean states, we know a lot about excessive rainfall. According to the Maryland Institute for Applied Environmental Health from the University of Maryland, after studying our region, they noted that when it rains, literally just 2, not even 5 guys, just 2 standard deviations above average, literally over time, you're going to get 0.7 years less of schooling, because children have to stay home. They can't go to school because of the rain. With regards to extreme heat, the Global Environment Change Study shows that when we have extreme heat and the human fetus is exposed to that, it causes so much problems for children developmentally wise later on, and thus negatively affects educational outcomes in later childhood. So that crazy summer heat, as it grows, it is going to make things worse for us education-wise, and children develop later and slower because of it. And then, of course, as we spoke about, the natural disasters, it definitely severely affects the socioeconomically disadvantaged households. We were talking about that earlier, and the percentage of schooling loss, because basically when they don't have assets and income and a place to live, quite literally, then children cannot go to school. And then I just included a not so fun fact that with Hurricane Ivan, 1,000 schools were damaged and over 204,000 children's education was affected, right? So that's just to give context of the direct linkages between this extremely toxic relationship that education has with climate change. So with our foundation, we definitely have instituted a ton of programs. So for example, especially with, for example, the COVID-19 pandemic, which also further exacerbated the issues that we're having already in the education system, we have started, which you listed earlier, Aishiba, with regards to the FEMLEX cohort, which is a law program taking the young women as from marginalized and disadvantaged communities who are promising legal leaders, and we focus on climate change and environmental law. So basically, we understand that in order to have lasting change, protesting is great, all these things are amazing, but you have to have a seat at the table. You have to have your voice there when policy is being made and legislation is being passed. So we're taking the legal leaders, women, because we need more representation of women in color in politics and in law. We're bringing them, we're giving them certified entrepreneurial and businessmanship so they can be the best entrepreneurship and climate change leaders for the legal sphere. And then with regards to our literacy programs and our STEM programs, we are giving more awareness at the Early Bachelor Foundation through education on climate change and environmental awareness. And then with our STEM program, we're taking all of those incredible minds in coding, medicine, sciences, and we do hackathons and workshops to teach them to come up with viable solutions for the future. So as you said, Aishiba, it's about prevention. As we colloquially say and the adage says, prevention is better than what? The cure. So it's about using these bright, innovative minds and providing them with the structure and the certification and knowledge to take the world by storm and stop climate change for all. So that's how we're providing solutions on our end.
Absolutely love that. Actually really love that. That's amazing. No man, it seems like Gabriel and I, we're gonna have to talk after this, you know.
Oh, for sure. I'll connected after this.
Love it, love it. Russell, this question is, I think it's important for you, you know, just being the youngest person on the panel. You know, yeah, we talk about youth, but some of the time we don't really see, or, you know, or 18-year-olds, 17, 16-year-olds join in on the conversation like this. So I find it really, I have to applaud you actually for being a part of a conversation like this one. What I want to ask you, I know that you are a UNICEF youth advocate for climate change, right? That is what you do, that's what you are. Why did you decide to do that? That is one, because a lot of 18-year-olds probably not going to take up UNICEF youth ambassador climate change on their heads. You know, nobody, maybe a lot of people not interested in that. So why is that for you? That is one. And for you, what do you think are the unique strengths of our generation, of your generation in the Caribbean, in combating climate change?
Oh yeah. So first of all, I decided to become. Well, I was appointed the opportunity to become a youth advocate because of I have done various videos with UNICEF. Because during the storm, I recorded my experience of what happened, and it was quite emotional, and I think that the thoughts and feelings that I was feeling in the video was expressed very well. So it was reached out to me to become an advocate, and I decided, hey, maybe I can actually put my voice out there and be a little beacon to the younger people in the region, so that they can know, it's not just all the older people that are suffering from the effects of natural disasters, but also young people as well.
Unique. So the unique, yeah, man, I see you. So the unique strengths of your generation. You can go ahead now and tell me, what do you think those are?
Right. I think that the ability to communicate through social media is very, very important, because not only is it easier to communicate, hey, let's say a storm is coming, you can talk to your peers and be like, hey, you need any help with this, you need help with that. Like we saw in Devontae's video, there were messages being shared around, hey, does anybody need assistance with this and that? That is very important. And not only just the sharing of messages, but the sharing of adverts and different PSAs on platforms like Instagram and, let's say, Snapchat, Facebook. All of that is a very large strength in my opinion, because young people these days, everyone's on the social medias, and it's quite easy to communicate the various informations from not only preparation tactics, but you can get forms like checklists to make sure that you have everything you need in case a natural disaster occurs. So that's one that I think is a very important strength, the ability to communicate that we young people have. It's very, very strong.
Thank you so much for that, Russell. Colleen, you are literally trained in effective communication. So let me just put that out there. Sis is trained. So what I want to know from you, how can we use, look here, I heard Gabriel talk about, you know, STEM, and how she uses she provides an opportunity for these young ladies to go into that field of just STEM and law to help with this issue. But then there's another side. I'm sorry, guys, I'm going to always be biased to the arts. I'm a humanities student. I'm always going to be biased. So I want to know now, how can humanities and education students be a part of this? How can we help this problem through storytelling, especially? Russell kind of touched on that with social media, but as it relates to good storytelling, we're not talking about just post on social media and that's it. Good and effective storytelling, how can this help with this issue?
Thank you for that question, Aishiba. Yes, I am also for the arts. But just to add to Russell's point, yes, social media is a great communication tool, but let us not forget that it's also a good networking tool. I mean, the mere fact that I am able to sit here with you all, you know, to have such a fruitful discussion where we're gonna generate action from, you know, that in itself is a great thing. That's a plus. So ability to network on topics such as disaster resilience, is something that we should be grateful that communication tools such as social media platforms and virtual meeting platforms has awarded us. As it relates to using the arts, I believe that we should be pushing disaster resilience and risk reduction in schools. I know that some syllabus allows for it, but I feel like they kind of just stick it onto, I don't know, geography, or they stick it onto social studies. I feel like it should be a topic or discipline on its own that will serve to provide awareness, for youth, and also serve to inspire them to seek career options within this field. I mean, the more persons we have pushing this, dedicating the time, skills, and expertise towards this, I feel like it's better for all of us in the long run. So definitely with you in terms of tying this in with education, but giving it like a fair spot. Don't just stick it on, oh, it's just a topic we covered in geography. No, I feel like we need to explore it some more and serve to inspire others, because I feel like a big part of it is lack of awareness. The reason why we have little kids thinking it's okay to play in flooded streets and being swept away by the waters is lack of awareness, because it was just a topic that we covered in geo, which they probably might not have been at school that day. We're not drilling it, we're not riding it, so we get the action we need. Remember, you have to do something over and over and over before it becomes a habit. And then once it's a habit, it's a lifestyle. So we definitely need to explore that. And we have the channels, we have the tools, and I think that we definitely could do it in terms of partnership. We don't necessarily have to wait on the government or large organizations to do that. I think we should use what we have right now. And I love that Devontae did that. He used his social media account. That's what he had right then and there. And he got change, he got action. So I feel like we all should take something from that and be inspired. So we can definitely use that as youth, because the future is ours. So we have to start preparing for it from today, and we have to safeguard all our resources starting right now in this moment if we want to have a bright and beautiful future.
Very powerful, and I definitely agree with everything that you actually just said, Colleen. I have to big up integrated marketing communication. I'm sorry, guys, I'm not gonna stop saying it, and I'm gonna tell you why. There is a course that you do that is called social marketing, and they literally focus on the sustainable development goals for this course. And at the end of your final year, you have to carry out a project with any of the goals that you want to actually, right? I'm going to give you an example before we get into the next question. There is a group that I know right now that is actually doing a manage your mask campaign, social media campaign. A lot of persons know that you should wear your mask, cool, and they know how to wear the masks, but they don't know how to dispose of the mask properly. They don't know how to, and that is what that campaign is doing. So I'd love if the education sector as well, Gabriel, I hope you're listening right here, because this one is for you. I hope that, as Colleen said, that they will not put it just as one topic, but make this an overall thing that encapsulates the curriculum, and not just for tertiary students. How about high schools? How about primary schools? The primary school students have sense, they have sense. So how about we start from there? Love that. Atame, I hope I pronounced the name properly. We're gonna get to your question in a bit in the question and answer segment. So I just want to let you know that I see the question. So we soon get there. Let me go to Russell. What are some of the challenges, limits, or barriers for you personally? It's what you see to greater youth action on natural disaster resilience. So we know that education might be one of it. Not might be, is actually one of it. But what are the other things that you think are limiting for greater youth action on natural disaster? Before you start I realized that there are a lot of young people, as I said, and that's why I had to applaud you, Russell, for being on a panel like this. A lot of young people just aren't interested. Like, they just literally don't care. They're like, okay, I'm probably going to die before any of this happens, so it's not my problem. You get me? But what do you think, Russell? Over to you.
You make a good point, because indeed, not only even down here in Dominica, I see that a lot of people don't really care about it that much, because they think that, I mean, it's just climate change. I'm going to grow old. I'm going to get a job. It's not really going to be that important to me, whatever. But it is very important, as, I mean, these things don't stop. They keep coming and coming and coming. And with the threat of climate change, they're only going to get worse. So I think that young people, not only lack of awareness, not only do we need to bring to light that awareness is very important, and we need to, let's say, present the information about natural disasters in a way that can really engage them, but I think that we need to get them to really feel confident. So what I mean by that is that while they think, okay, this thing really isn't going to impact me that much, we need to make them feel that, okay, maybe, yeah, I should take it seriously. I should really think about the implications that these things could have. And not only just that, but realize, oh wait, it happened a couple of years ago. A hurricane happened a couple of years ago. A volcano just exploded not so long ago. We need to really put that to the forefront of our minds and not just cast it to the side.
Thank you for your answer, Russell. Gabriel, I want to jump over to you. Now, you would have been speaking about education and as it relates to like climate change resilience or natural disaster resilience in the Caribbean. I kind of want to pick your brain a bit, because while you were talking, I was thinking about education as the physical school, but then I'm thinking, okay, we had 2 years of COVID where there was no physical school, like students could not go in at all. So with this whole like climate change issue on a whole and like natural disaster issue that we have here in the Caribbean, how else can this affect or young people in the online space, in the digital space? Because remember too, you know, especially in Jamaica, and Colleen can probably speak with, like when I was about to come to university, it was right in the middle of COVID. And I was a part of the National Secondary Students Council. And one of the biggest problems we were having is that a lot of young people could not even go to school online because what? The service in country where them there, they can't get any internet down there. So I mean, how do we, oh my God, guys, if you see me feeling stressed, it's because I feel stressed, because there's so many other problems outside of what we're talking about, and it works together with this problem. So Gabriel, what you have to say about that?
Okay, so basically what you're essentially talking about is a digital divide. That's what we've coined it in education. And you're absolutely correct, because the United Nations estimates that 94% of the world's population, including the Caribbean, right, in terms of education, student population was affected by COVID-19 and affected negatively. So for us at the Erling Bradshaw Foundation, my goal, actually, the fun thing about it is that I saw that coming. Honestly, all our programs, first of all, are all virtual, right? All of our programs have physical components, yes, but they're all virtual. So we didn't have like the transition issues that many other educational systems had, because we were already far ahead with regards to having everything online. Now, the beautiful thing about working with the World Literacy Foundation, and this is something that I'm working to implement, because we actually implemented this project in Colombia and helped to lift over 400,000 young children and young adults out of educational poverty by the project called Sunbooks. So as the name connotes, Sunbooks, they are tablets that are powered by the sun, right? So these are educational devices and chargers that are strictly powered by solar power, and you can essentially just put them literally in the sun, also in overcast conditions as well, once the UV rays are present, and they will charge and keep your devices alive and enough to connect to your electricity and whatnot, so you can still work regardless of where you are at and regardless of electricity concerns or any digital issues. So the World Literacy Foundation and the Erling Bradshaw Foundation as well, we accept donations in this regard, and then we provide these Sunbooks to the communities that are in need, right? So this is one of the key initiatives that I'm working assiduously to bring to the Caribbean. As I said, 400,000 children benefited positively from this in Colombia and other parts of the world. Africa as well is a huge huge part of the project as well, for obvious reasons, with their, the state of their developmental issues with regards to internet and access and whatnot, particularly in communities with a lot of civil unrest. So these are climate friendly initiatives that need to be implemented, that I have been rallying for to be implemented down here, because this will quite literally bridge the digital divide. You literally take your tablet, go sit down in the sun, get some vitamin D as well, get some good old Caribbean sunshine as well, along with keeping up with your classmates, connecting with your family and friends, because let's face it, the last pandemic that we had, the Black Plague and the Black Death, that lasted literally 300 years. It went away, it came back, it went away, it came back. And as we can see, Miss Corona keeps respawning herself over and over again, or himself, depending on whichever gender you choose. And that is what's happening. So there is, unfortunately, the possibility that there could be a situation where the world gets shut down again. We can't rule it out, even with the vaccines. So having a climate-friendly initiative such as Sunbucks, along with virtual programs that allow for individuals to be connected and to keep in contact and up to date with their education, I believe is the perfect solution for the digital divide in terms with climate change. So shameless plug, if you're interested in being a part of this and you want to partner, definitely hit me up. I would definitely love to bring this to the Caribbean.
Thank you so much for that, Gabrielle. So we're coming down really quickly, actually, but we still have time. I always say it's not 7:30 yet. We still have time, so we're not going anywhere. Before I head into the third topic, I want to know from Colleen. Now, I know that you would have received the award for excellence in the category of environmental protection recently for the Prime Minister Awards that just went by. What do you think are some of the barriers that are there with youth action on natural disaster and resilience? I'm gonna try to put it in the context that I want it in. A lot of times, as young people, as youth advocates, activists, and so on, we think that we genuinely have a seat at the table. But then when you look on social media, it's a government official taking a picture with a youth advocate, and it's for show. A lot of times I don't really think that youth have a voice at the table or a seat at the table, like a genuine seat at the table. Do you think that that's one of the barriers as it relates to youth actually working together to solve this whole big issue of not just natural disaster mitigation in the Caribbean, but just climate change on a whole?
Thank you for that question, Aishiba. But before I delve into that, I just want to say that some of the other barriers, Russell and Gabrielle, they definitely pointed out. We definitely need awareness. You need to know what you're fighting or what you're up against, and you definitely need more initiatives geared at solution-oriented initiatives geared at that. As it pertains to if I agree or if I realize that youth may not necessarily have a seat at the table, or it appears that way, I say to that, create your own table. And that's what I've been trying to do. If you find that you cannot fit into that table, you create your own table, show persons what you're offering, and then they'll come to your table. I definitely believe that. And I feel like people want to see things, it's always good to talk the talk. And that's one of the issues I have with the whole thing surrounding climate change. We talk a lot about it. Yes, we define climate change. We talk about our goals and contributions, and we pull the stats and the figures, but where's the action? That's why I love the term climate action. What are you doing? And I get really irritated when I see persons online bashing the efforts of governments and non-government programs and initiatives being carried out when they have done nothing. You wouldn't even recycle that water bottle you drank out of, and you feel that you're qualified to criticize. So to that, I say, show what you're doing, create your own table and make a nice spread, Thanksgiving kind of.
All right, thank you for that, Colleen. Colleen talk, Colleen talked. One of the things that Colleen said was to create your own table, and I think that's really important.
So Minister, let's have this discussion. Let's have this talk. I'm like, no, what can I do? And I ran with that. I did what I could do, and I'm really grateful that it got national recognition. But it was really me just within myself taking action, or using what I have when I had it to make my table, to show my spread. So definitely. And to add to this discussion under this topic, I feel funding is definitely an issue. It's a barrier, and also incentives. I must say I am impressed that the Prince of Wales, he's offering climate action scholarships to Vincentians who are affected, students who are affected by the eruption, £4.5 million. That's we like things like that. We like to hear that. We like to see that. Youth like to know that we're being invested in, so we can give back. You can't pour from an empty cup. You need, to be putting in so you can get it back out. So I really like initiatives like that, make that available. With funding will always, and I love the Sunbook idea and I love that initiative, but I'm sure it doesn't cost air or just the sun alone, funding. So I want persons to realize that action takes energy, and the currency for energy right now is funds. You need the funding, you need the support, and initiatives in the sense that in order to stir behavior change, we need to be rewarded. When you do something good and you get a reward, don't you want to do it again? True. And again? Because you know that you're doing something good, you're getting that clap or that pat. I feel like we should have incentives. I love the bottle refund scheme that Jamaica is pushing right now, where you get, you recycle your bottles and you get a $20 cash back. I'm for it, and I want to see more initiatives like that within AIS and small island developing states across the world, really. I really want to see initiatives to, incentivize it to get persons doing good, because we reward good behavior. As it pertains to youth, if they're hosting an eco-environment event, help them get some sponsorship, help them get a discount on the venue, or stuff like that, so they know that whatever we're doing, if we take care of the environment, it will take care of us. I want to leave with that.
Thank you so much for that, Colleen. I was saying a little earlier that I really love that you said, we should create our own table. If you realize that, look here, really and truly, they're not giving you the seat at the table, then create your own table. I just want you to answer this really quickly, Colleen, as we get into the last topic and then go into our question and answer segment. Now you talk about the barriers, funding and so funding as a barrier. But for me, a lot of the times we have some young people, and I think this is a lot of young people say that they're really passionate about climate change, climate action. As you say, you love that term, or you prefer that term. But a lot of the times we just want to hear that, oh, I Shiva Cornwall advocate or climate change advocate, and we love the niceness of it. We love how it rolls off the tongue. We like that we can wear a badge, especially for high school students. I love that they can have 10 million badge down here that has stuff on it. In one of my social marketing classes the other day, my lecturer was really talking about how as a people we keep providing band-aid solutions to some of the problems that we have. What advice do you have to the young people who are here listening now, who are, they say they're passionate about climate action and they'd really love to create action? What advice do you have for them, taking into consideration that term of the whole putting a band-aid on the problem?
All right, thank you for that. My advice would be definitely do your research, stay in tune with what is happening within the world. Don't be so connected that you're disconnected. Don't. And what you need to do is to realize, look at it. If this has been applied and it has not been working, and instead of criticizing it, how about you research, look deeper, speak amongst your peers, your friends, and come up with solutions that you think, hey, this could be a better fix, or this is more appropriate, and try implementing it. Try putting them down and starting where you are. So for example, we'd be like, okay, so every month we have these plastic bottles, and we do the beach cleanup, and that probably just a band-aid fix because the bottles still getting there, we still have to pick them up. How about at school or at your place of employment, you have a recycling scheme? You get in touch with recycling partners or whoever the recycling agency is in your hometown or country, and ask them if they could set up a station by your workplace. Find different ways of new and innovative and creative ways of addressing these problems that you realize, okay, they used to just slap a band-aid on it. Picking up the bottles off the beach is not a solution. That's not us being proactive, that's us being reactive when we realize, okay, so this looks really bad, the tourists, they're not gonna come. We can't look at it like that. So instead of, yes, be critical, but don't just sit there and criticize, delve deeper, think big, think deeper, have these discussions amongst yourselves. And lastly, implement. Don't just think about it, sleep on it, and leave it there, or think about it and tweet it. No, you need to go out there and you need to put action to it. So therefore, that is how you come up with not just having a band-aid solution, but we're doing surgery here. We're doing life-saving surgery to get rid of whatever issues are plaguing our environment. So that would be my suggestion to you.
Thank you so much for that, Colleen. I'm going to invite the audience, where we have one more questions for you, by the way, panelists, but I'm going to invite the audience to just send in your questions right now, because we're going to have a question and answer segment or session right after. So this is your cue to send them in right now so we can end on time, because we respect people's time, right? So we're gonna finish exactly at 7:30. All right. So ready. Last question, Russell. Of course, Russell. I appreciate you. By the way, Russell, you inspire me. I'm not going to even lie. You inspire me. I love it. So I'm going to go to you with this one first. Now, this last topic is, so we found out what the problem is. We looked at some ways that we can solve the problem, but now we need to look at better preparing for the future now. So we need to prepare. Right? I want to know from you guys. I know that Gabrielle, Colleen, Russell, you might have your initiatives that you're working on, or collectively with other young people within the Caribbean or within your country, that will help to mitigate against like natural disasters in the Caribbean and in your country. What I want to know from you, Russell, think about it, what is an initiative by the youth, for the youth, that you believe could have a positive impact on reducing the adverse effects of natural disasters? So that's for you, Russell. If you need more time, you can let me know,
I'd like so much time now for you guys. That one's gonna take a bit to think about.
All right, no problem. While you think about that, Devontae, let me bring you into the mix. So let me know if you know any initiatives by youth. Youth are doing this, like they are the main drivers behind these initiatives that helps to reduce the adverse effects of natural disasters.
Thank you for that, Aishiba. And I want to say, greetings to everyone, my fellow Caribbean brother and sisters, all those who are tuned in the AIS. Thanks for having me. In terms of initiatives that other youths are having, no, I'm not familiar with any. It's kind of like the point that you raised when we were speaking with Russell earlier, in that young people, climate resistance and climate resilience, it's not something that we quickly gravitate to. It usually comes from a sort of reactive sort of approach, where something happens and then we decide, oh guys, we need to go patch this up and deal with that there. But what I can't say is, at least here in St. Vincent, recently there has been some action on the ground on a national level in terms of preparing persons for various types of disasters. In fact, just last week I participated in a tsunami evacuation drill. So it's good to see that these things are becoming, they're coming forward, and they need to be present. It can't just be something that comes up 2 days before a hurricane in the case of Dominica, or a few months in the case of the volcano. It needs to be something like my fellow panelists said, it needs to be in the curriculum, needs to be something that we're talking about on a regular basis if we are going to make a meaningful change.
Thank you so much for the input, Devante. Gabrielle, I'm jumping right over to you. Of course. So, do you know? Well, I know you talk about your initiative, the shameless plug. You can plug all you want, as long as it's something that we can all benefit from, go through. But do you have any more initiatives?
Oh, of course. I'm so happy that you asked this question. I'm thrilled, actually. Because with the the Caribbean Climate Justice Project, where we had the Caribbean Youth Parliament, the first one, where we passed the first ever resolution on climate justice. Basically, what we are seeking to do, and I love that you coined that term, band-aid solutions, because that is what the resolution is seeking to dissipate and do away with. And for example, one of the points that we have, and this resolution, by the way, is going to be taken to COP 26 and to the United Nations as well. And basically, one of the points that we have, for example, is that the key emitters of greenhouse gases across the world have to pay a carbon tax to the developing countries that they destroy. Also, the key individuals who, for example, they do a lot of fishing that destroys, because of the nets that drag on the coral reefs and whatnot, that destroy a lot of the blue economy that we have in the Caribbean, also to pay a tax in that regard as well too, of course. And this also would aid economically for us as small island developing states as well too, because these funds then would go to not only restoring, but also to definitely providing funding, as Colleen correctly stated. And that was what I was going to add as well, that funding is one of the key things that are needed for climate action. And then we're also calling on international financial institutions of first world, quote unquote, countries and developed countries as well, to actually establish a fund, right, that assists developing countries in their pursuit of climate action. Because of course, we all have signed on, of course, these are members of the United Nations, have all signed on stating that we are partnering Sustainable Development Goal number 17. They're saying that, and your signatures have said this as well, partnership for the goals, so that by 2030, we can all be as equal as possible in terms of development. And this is one of the ways in our resolution and things that we're calling for, right? No band-aid solutions. Put your money, as they say in Caribbean, put your money where your mouth is. Put your money, okay, where your mouth is, all right? And also, you're benefiting, as I said, from dumping also, even the Archipelagic Islands can attest to this as well, dumping a lot of their garbage in areas where there shouldn't be, a lot of illegal dumping and whatnot. So get it together and pay the tax, right, to ensure that the places that have been damaged by these behaviors can resuscitate and be revived. So these are some of the solutions that was created by youth. Shout out to all of my Caribbean climate justice fellow parliamentarians. We all came together to, create that particular resolution and pass it. So that is definitely something that fits the bill for the youth, by the youth, and extension, Archipelagic and Caribbean states as well, to see that, development and greater, just advantageous happenings for all. So yeah, I know UNDP, you're listening, UN in general, United Nations, you're listening, anyone who is watching this, even on a personal level, if you are interested, please reach out to all of us, here. I'm sure I can speak for all of us here on the panel. Reach out to us. We're willing to partner, goal number 17, to ensure that these initiatives become a reality.
Thank you so much for that, Gabrielle. All right, guys. So, crunch time, we only have 5 minutes left. So I'm actually going to ask the questions that you, the attendees, posed. So the first one is, and this is an excellent question, by the way, from anonymous attendee. I don't know your name, but that's the name that came up. It's fine. Excellent question though. So this individual said, some of the panelists mentioned that they will never forget the experience, no matter how young they were. However, sometimes maybe as a coping mechanism, it feels like as nations, we are quick to forget and go back to business as usual once the immediate emergency has ended. How can the youth help to keep this collective memory and the local wisdom we have developed alive, especially for those who have not yet experienced this firsthand? What tools do we have to do this? This is an excellent question. This, Khalid, I'm going to let you answer, but before you do, Devonte, I want to hear what you have to say, because what you did was excellent. You have a video that it's there now. It's there for people to sit and watch. You get me? So I love that. But what is your take on that one, Devonte?
Well, my take is actually this is a perfect question for Colleen. So I'm not surprised that you said that. But that's exactly what came to mind in terms of we need to preserve the memories, because that's spot on. We try to forget about these things as a coping mechanism and move forward, but then what you end up doing is in packing up that memory and shoving it away in the back of a closet, you pack away the learning opportunities, the opportunities to put better response plans in place. But in terms of how we can capture that with the limited time that we have remaining, I'm going to let Colleen jump in and talk a bit about some of the ways in which we can do that.
Sure, Colleen, go ahead.
I think a big part of resilience is memory. Knowing how we got through the last time to do it again. Like, think of your immune system. That's how we're getting vaccinated. That's why, when you get the cold, it might not be so bad this time because your body remembers. And I think as a people, we need to remember. The environment, remember, the grass knows how to grow. So after the rain done, eat it down, it still remembers how to grow. So it grows. So I think memory is definitely important. And how do we preserve that? Proper documentation and through education. That is why I not stop pushing for this to be a subject, just like math, English, physics. Especially it's something that affects us, and it affects us greatly. It costs billions, trillions of dollars, when these natural occurrences happen. And like I said, the disasters will come. We can't stop them. It's just how we face them. So I feel proper documentation, and we do that through educating. So yes, we have the records. So the stats are there to tell you how many, and I love that Gabriel brought it up, how many students were displaced due to Hurricane Ivan. I was in that figure. I was one of those students, because the school year was pushed back by 2 to 3 weeks. And we're playing catch up. Midterm, we still don't know half the syllabus. So I feel like proper documentation. So the persons coming up who doing research, they can learn, and also through teaching it in school, making it a subject so they're learning. They come home, oh, you know what I learned in disaster resilience class today, mommy? Oh yes, I was there, I lived it, things like that. So you keep the conversation going, and the know-how. I feel memory, very important when you're talking about resilience.
Thank you so much for that, Colleen. And I will add to this a little. I wouldn't consider myself a climate change advocate, but I am really, really passionate about issues like these that definitely affect young people. As an art student, again, coming back to this, I think I have a friend that I follow this young man on Instagram, and I realized that he does murals across Jamaica, beautiful murals, and I'm thinking, what if we paint or have some kind of pictorial representation of what happened in a certain times? Maybe when you pass it every day, you say, boy, I really want to go through this again. That's probably a really good idea that we could do in our different countries as well. I'm no artist, but to all the artists listening there, and if you know anybody, that's a really good idea to just keep the memory alive, as our anonymous attendee said. Really love that. One more question, guys, because we're really, the time is going. I'm gonna ask this one by Rini. Sorry if I'm butchering your name, I apologize. But to the panelists, so as a youth, what led you to the realization that you needed to act on raising this awareness and understanding the effects of climate change? So maybe for this question, you can couple it with your final words. All right. So what led you to the realization that you needed to act on raising awareness and understanding the effects of climate change? So Russell, we're going like this. We're going Russell, Colleen, Gabriel, Devonte. All right. So Russell, go ahead. And your final advice as well to everybody.
What led me to the realization Well, mainly just having such a traumatic experience from a natural disaster. Just that just clicked the switch in my head, like, okay, no, something is wrong. We can properly secure ourselves and let's say resist the effects of these natural disasters in a better way. It not if it flipped a switch in my head, then that must have happened if like everybody else that is affected. So with that, I also want to leave my closing remarks. Things are not going to go away, and there are various measures out there that we can use to mitigate and, let's say, properly prepare for these events, such as natural disasters or heck, even COVID-19. So I just want to lay it out there that there are platforms out there. We are here to help. We are here to give advice and suggestions. And all you have to do is just keep your ears open, because we're here. Just listen and absorb all the advice.
Thank you, Russell. Going over to you, Colleen.
Thank you. I definitely would say that I am inspired by the environment. I mean, just waking up to a nice, beautiful sunrise, seeing the sea crash into the waves, hearing the birds chirp, looking at lush green grass and hillside and mountain, that inspires me. And if, despite whatever nature throws, when she's doing her thing, and you still get that beautiful scenery after all of that, that's resilience. That is symbolic of resilience for me. I think that as a people, we can be just like that. When in the face of natural disasters, if we only prepare. You realize when the season's coming, how the tree, it will lose its leaf, and how the animals going. We can learn so much from nature when it comes on to resilience. And I feel like that inspires me to want to advocate, to want to act on behalf of the environment. So that's one of the reasons why I have chosen to immerse myself in this field and to use my voice and my talents to advocate, to bring about awareness and behavioral change. Because really, we only have one Earth. We don't have any other planets. We don't have any other planets. And natural disasters, as I said earlier, and I keep saying, they will come. It's just how we face them. And for somebody who, I get anxious at times, when I have a big project or something important coming up, I get anxious. But you know what helps me with that? Because that activity is coming, that project or whatever, the due date is coming. But you know what helps me in the face of that? Being prepared and having a plan. So I definitely think that we need to do that. And I'm not just talking about, I'd like to open it now, not just youth, anybody. From you're a citizen of this earth, we're all global citizens, all right? This is our place. We need to be prepared. We need to have a plan and to know our course of action when these major things come. We can't take it for granted that, no hurricane in the last 5 years, so none will come. Take the hurricane warnings seriously. Take hurricane season. Don't let June come and you don't have your supplies, Ensure that you are prepared. You refuse to litter the place. If you see the gully is looking flooded, crowded, you don't want the flooding to come together as a community and be like, hey, let's have a drive, let's have a cleanup drive. Don't wait on the officials or the government to see that. Be the change that you want to be. Act now within that space. And to close, I just want to encourage you, use your talent, your skills, and your resources, and find something that you're passionate about, especially aligning to the environment. It's the least we can do, right? We get oxygen for free. We get peaceful sunshine for free. So the least we can do is to just take care of that and safeguard that and put plans in place. So when these disasters do come, we're prepared and equipped to face them.
Thank you so much for that, Colleen. Jumping over to you, Gabrielle.
I totally agree with my esteemed panelists so far. And, one of the mantras that I live by is that education is the nucleus of society's progress. Education is the nucleus of society's progress. And for me, that has been my passion, from 13 years old when I started my first program, which was a reading program. So yeah, Aishiba, definitely a fan and proponent of the arts as well. So from such a young age, I recognize the power, the infinite power that education holds, and the fact that it can transcend circumstances and take individuals from being exploited to a place of excellence. So in that vein, I decided, well, this is the weapon, the positive weapon. That's a little bit of oxymoron, but that's what it is. A positive weapon that can be, just wield it and use it to make the world a better place. And then I just took that innate and intrinsic desire and married it with my passion for climate change and climate action, because at the end of the day, it doesn't make sense having all these initiatives and then literally there's no world to live in. We don't have an earth that is viable to keep us sustained as life forms anymore. So then for me, it was only natural to bring Sustainable Development Goal number 13 into the fore and ensure that climate action becomes accessible for all via education. And with regards to, just the advice, I would say youth starts with you. Like, really think about it. Youth starts with you. So regardless of your age, regardless of where you are from, climate action and climate solutions starts with youth. So don't wait on the government. Yes, they have a duty of care to the citizens to ensure that, we definitely have the best possible lives that they can sustain. But at the end of the day, it is up to you to ensure that you're taking that action. So as Colleen said, pick up that bottle, or ensure that you're recycling or doing what you need to do. Or even if it's just a case of, if you see your friend, at school or whatnot, doing something that can harm the environment, say, look, come on, let's institute positive peer pressure to ensure that you're preventing, so that we wouldn't have such a reactive measures every single time. And then lastly, I would say though, we're not letting the governments off the hook, okay? Funding. Make space in your budgets and your financial propositions for, the initiatives that are going to keep the world and the globe moving and alive. Look, hello, hi, all of these panelists, all of us young people, we're here, and we need those resources to continually, perpetually make the world a better place and have a better climate for all. So that's my advice. It starts with you, and it starts with an amalgamation of the third sector and the government to ensure, the promulgation of climate action for all.
Thank you so much for that, Gabriel. Wow. Jumping over to you, Devontae. Last words.
Here I am sitting with an incredible group of people from across the region. And, despite our individual awesomeness, I think you would have heard tonight that we're all affected by the effects of climate change. As such, it is our responsibility to learn as much as possible, to educate others as much as possible, and to do whatever action, to participate in whatever way that we can to help the fight against climate change. It is everyone's business, and therefore we need to take it seriously. You don't have to have everything all figured out, but you need to act. Listen, just use the resources that you have available to you. It could be your social media, it could be a friend, it could be someone in the government. You might have more resources available to you, but use whatever you have and just start. And you would realize that there are persons like you who also want to help in the fight against climate change, that you're going to start connecting with and you're going to start networking with, just like how we're connecting and networking with everyone here in this discussion. And you're going to realize that just from starting, you're going to start having a meaningful impact on your overall goal, on all our overall goal, which is to fight climate change. So don't rest, act on it. We're going to be all right.
I love that. Thank you so much, Devontae. We're going to be all right. I love it. I see Don saying very good discussion by the panelists. Blessing to our youth. The future will be great. And indeed, I agree. The future definitely will be great. And there you have it, folks. Look here, I went 10 minutes over. Production team, I apologize, but this discussion was amazing. This was the first staging of the Archipelagic and Island States Forum Youth Talk. This was incredibly amazing. To all the young people, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for participating. I'm pretty sure you would have learned a lot from this. A lot of gems were dropped. And I really love it. Marie, I'm just gonna read what Marie said here. Congrats on this very interesting webinar. I followed the conference from Guadeloupe. Oh my God, greetings. I am proud to see all the dynamism among youth for a more resilient Caribbean. Amazing indeed. Oh, thank you so much for the support, everybody. I'm seeing Trinidad and Tobago here. Thank you so much. This was excellent. And everyone, from my home to yours, to everybody, I want to thank you so much for coming. We really do appreciate it. I am Aishiba Cornwall, your host for this evening. I hope you have a good day. To all the people in Indonesia, it's still morning, it's like 7 a.m. A good evening to all our Caribbean family. If you would like to connect with me, you can do it right here. Have my Instagram and my LinkedIn right there. Once again, I'm Aishiba Cornwall and I am signing out. Have a good day, guys.
The Archipelagic and Island States, or AIS Forum, are committed to take part in a collective forum addressing sustainable development issues. The cooperation between AIS countries focuses on 4 thematic areas of collaboration, namely climate change mitigation and adaptation, blue economy, marine plastics debris, and good maritime governance. The Archipelagic and Island States Forum was established by Manondo Joint Declaration.
We are different in many ways, but we share the same challenges.
The biggest problem I see is the climate change. There's something you could do. From today on, stop using single-use plastic. It's the very highest contributor for pollution in the sea.
The world is starting to wake up that we have long known, that without our precious environment, none of us have a future.